What we have a bad rap for as Catholics isn't our Catholic guilt, it's our Catholic shame. You know, and we have to be real clear that there is a big difference between shame and guilt. Guilt is behavior focused. Guilt is the conscience being convicted in order to make a behavior change that is not sinful and more in line with God's teaching. Shame is person focused. Shame is, I am a bad person. I am defective. I am insufficient. Shame is any belief that takes me out of believing that I am anything other than God's most precious and beloved child. You know, and all too often, the messages that we communicate as a church, not the message itself, but the way we communicate the message, communicates shame to people, or leaves people feeling shame. And that's why they leave the church. You know, well, we need to give them the fire. We've got to give them the truth, Roy. We've got to give them the truth. Well, what about the truth of love? What about the truth of the gospel? Well, Jesus, you know, he didn't go after them, you know, when people started walking away when he gave that teaching about the Eucharist. But what about the countless other stories where he did go after people? What about the story of the prodigal son when it says, while he was still a long way off, the father caught sight of him and ran to him and embraced him and hugged him. He didn't patronize him. He didn't condescend him. He threw his arms around and he embraced him because he loved him. What about that truth? You know, a lot of times we blame it on the listener. Oh, well, they're just going to hell anyway. Or they're just, you know, they're just not living in the light. They're just cafeteria Catholics, people who only want it their way. You know, and all the other excuses we make up to demonize those who we feel are less virtuous or less holy than we are. But what if we just took an opportunity to consider that it has more to do with us not spending enough time, not caring enough about being effective because of to be right? You know, what if we put more time and energy into thinking about our message, and as we're crafting it, that time, and we think, how is this going to be heard? Is this going to be effective? What is the most effective way that I can communicate this truth? What is the desired outcome on the part of the listener? I just don't get it. I mean, do you honestly think that you're going to get non-Catholics showing up to Mass when you rail on them because they're going to be turning and burning because they're contracepting? Do you really think people are going to show up? I can't wait to go back next Sunday. Whoa! No! They're not. They're gone. They're gone, and it's not because you preach the truth, it's because you didn't spend enough time thinking about them. You know, all too often, we have a cop-out that says, well, I love them, that's why I'm preaching the truth to them. Well, if you do love them, and I believe very often we do, but love them enough to spend time thinking about their life situation. Love them, and look, I don't contracept, okay? I'm just putting it out there, because I know a lot of people are watching this going, oh, there's a contracepting Petitfils. Wow, really? There are 30,000 children starved to death in the last 2 months in Somalia. The United Nations predicts that over 500,000 children will starve to death in Somalia in the next year. And I'm getting my email inbox right now, and I'm not sure why, is filled up with people trying to get me aboard a campaign so that I can bash contraceptives. I mean, hello? People aren't just walking out of the church, they're sprinting out of the church. They're sprinting out and not coming back. What is the desired outcome? And the desired outcome often shouldn't be, well, I'm trying to get people to stop contracepting. Or, you know, I want people to stop using drugs or alcohol. What if it could just be to approach me after Mass for a conversation? What if the desired outcome is send me an email, connect with me on Facebook, and let's talk about this, to where I can give you the opportunity to perhaps save face. Well, it shouldn't be that way, Roy. People should be marching to the confessional and suck up their pride. It is that way. It is that way. You know, we used to have a saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You know, let's change that saying. The road to hell is paved with saying it shouldn't be that way. Because it shouldn't be that way keeps us from having to deal with a reality that's more complex to deal with than we would like. And we got to put our big boy pants and our big boy skirts on and think about this problem and come together with people who we may not like, we may not be in total agreement with, and think about this problem and think about how we can communicate our message most effectively to young people.